I do want to first take the opportunity to wish each and every one of you a Shana Tova, happy and healthy, not only for you, for your families, for our community, and especially this year for Israel and for the Jewish people. This is the 27th year that I've conducted High Holy Day services here at Bethel, the 30th year of my life conducting High Holy Day services, counting some student pulpits. For Cantor King, just went out to probably grab a sip of water. The 28th year he has presided on the Bima here during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Both of us would say to you there is something different about the feel of this Rosh Hashanah. Speaking for myself, different from any other Yontif celebration since I've been in Baltimore, and maybe even in my lifetime. And I'm guessing that many of you might say the same thing. It's a long list. The brutal attack of October 7th, a war that has now dragged on, we know, for a full year, a war now being fought on multiple fronts, worldwide rise in anti-Semitic behavior and rhetoric, and on college campuses around our country, college campuses. Jews have been threatened and even attacked. And then, of course, protests against the state of Israel and the events of just a few days ago with a ballistic attack, a ballistic missile attack, ballistic missiles raining down all over Israel. We have just lived through one of the worst years in Jewish history since the Second World War, and one of the most difficult Yontif seasons any of us can ever remember, and many of us in the room today remember 73 and the Yom Kippur War. Now, you may remember the old Yiddish saying, Shvir zu zayin a Yid, shvir zu zayin a Yid. It is hard to be a Jew. And this year has proved that. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do at the end of a year like that? And what are we supposed to do at the beginning of a year that's starting like this? And you know, honestly, much less important, but of some significance on this day. What's a rabbi supposed to say to his or her congregation at this challenging and painful and difficult moment in Jewish history? First and foremost, a few words about Israel. I have family in Israel. Many of you do as well. My cousins Shimi and Yoni, first cousins, made Aliyah many years ago, close to 30 years ago at this point. Here's an email that my cousin Shimi sent to my dad just about 10 days ago. Hi, Uncle Meir. Thanks as always for being in touch. For now, it is more of the same here. With a heavy rocket fire from Lebanon, northern Israel has replaced the south as the main battleground. Several small cities in northern Israel over the last few months have been decimated by Hezbollah rockets and are now ghost towns. The exploding beeper operation and other recent targeted strikes have been phenomenal achievements highlighting Israel's advanced intelligence and military capabilities. This only makes the massive intelligence failure of October 7th even more difficult to understand. Sadly, it is reported that more and more Israelis are leaving the country in significant numbers. People are understandably uncertain about the future here in Eretz Yisrael. I share the uneasiness, but try to remain optimistic about the future. Rosh Hashanah is around the corner. I'll call beforehand love to you and Alice Shimi. That's it. That's the day-to-day life of the average Israeli. It is a blend of fear and uncertainty and often day-to-day normalcy, going to work, buying the groceries, paying the bills, having coffee, and running to bomb shelters, and praying for peace and the safe return of hostages, and also on some level through all of that, trying to remain with some sense, some level of optimism and hope for a better tomorrow. So in this environment, what can we as American Jews do? And the way I would answer that question for you today is with one phrase: be a Zionist. Be a Zionist. In the spring, I gave a sermon. I addressed it to the Jewish graduates of 2024, so young Jewish men and women who were graduating from high school or college. And I said to them the following in that sermon: as young Jews, we need you to be Zionists. Do not let other people define Zionism for you. Zionism has nothing to do with racism. Zionism has nothing to do with colonialism. At its inception, Zionism was about one thing and one thing only: the right of the Jewish people to establish a nation state in their ancestral homeland. That is what Zionism is. The right of the Jewish people to start a nation state in their ancestral homeland. That is Zionism. Now, I asked those young Jews in that sermon to be Zionists, knowing that Israel is not a perfect place, like every other democracy in the world, including the United States, by the way. Israel has its problems, it has its issues, it struggles with civil rights and ethnic identity, and of course the Palestinian population. It struggles with severe political tension between the right and the left, but it is a democracy, and it's the only one in the Middle East. It's messy for sure at times, but it is a democracy, and it aspires to ideals like fundamental human decency, dignity, and freedom. That is what Israel is about. Israel right now, today, is more isolated, more alone, and more challenged than it has ever been in my lifetime. And the Jews who live there are our brothers and sisters. They need us right now. They need all of you right now. I'm not asking you to say everything you do, Israel, is okay, but I am asking you to say right now, Israel, I am here for you. You are not alone. And then maybe after that, if you want, sit down and say, hey, let's have a conversation. But remember, when you have that conversation, even if it's a difficult conversation, you are talking to your family. Be Zionists. And that's a message I gave to those kids. I hope they heard it, but it's a message we all need to hear this year, whether young or old, regardless of where we plant our political flag, right or left, doesn't matter. Israel needs us. They are so alone. So alone. They feel so grateful for every phone call, every letter, every email, and even more grateful for every visit. So call and write and email and go if you can. I know so many of you. I have 27 years I'm here. I know you. I know your families. I know how dedicated you are to your parents, to your siblings, to your children, to your grandchildren. You would do anything for your families. I know it. I see it. I see it every single day. Doesn't mean you always agree. Doesn't mean your family doesn't make you crazy sometimes. But you would do anything, anything, anything for your family. Israel is our family. Israel is our family. Our brothers and sisters. Carry that with you into the new year. Second thing, anti-Semitism. The best way to push back against the forces of anti-Semitism that we have seen rising around the world this past year, I think is very simple. Live proudly as a Jew. Proudly, openly, and passionately as a Jew. Celebrate your Judaism. Live your Judaism, not just on Rosh Hashanah, not just on Yom Kippur, not just on Passover. Do it every single day. We're Jews every day. Pick a day of the week. Wear a kippah all day, wherever you go, whatever you do. If you wear a Jewish star or a chamsa, whatever you use to identify, make sure it's visible. Come to shul, by the way. Get involved with the Associated. Get involved with Israel Bonds. And particularly for our younger people, particularly for our younger people, I want you to hear this message. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Judaism is one of the oldest and wisest traditions in human history. Human history. Some of the great thinkers in human history, people who have changed the course of human history, have come from the Jewish people. The Jewish understanding of human dignity and human freedom and the value of human life has changed the world for the better, for the better. And the world is a kinder, brighter, more hopeful, more civilized, more decent, and more holy place because the Jewish people is in it. Live proudly as a Jew. Don't just do it for me, by the way. Do it for you. Do it for yourselves. Do it for your children. Do it for your grandchildren. In a world where moral clarity sometimes can feel difficult to find, Judaism can guide you with such a beautiful wisdom and light in moments when you are searching for spiritual solace. And there's going to be those moments in any new year, and there'll be those moments in this year. But in that moment, you can look to your Judaism. It can calm you and soothe your soul, and with its ancient wisdom, enable you to feel grateful and humble and connected to something that is greater than us all. Judaism offers us guidance and a pathway on which we can set our feet and walk together into a brighter future. If you live as a proud Jew every day, all of those treasures will be yours. Every single one. There is a Talmudic concept, Yeush, it's called Yeush. It is applied in the area of law that deals with the losing of an object. So essentially, if someone loses something and enough time goes by and they haven't found it, it falls into a category of Yeush. They despair, it's gone forever. It's gone forever. I'll never get it. It's just completely gone. And I think we as Jews have been tempted during the last year to despair of finding things that the Jewish community has long searched for. You know, will there ever be a world without antisemitism? Will Israel ever be able to live in peace? Will Jews ever be fully accepted and treated equally, fairly, justly, with sensitivity and kindness and dignity and understanding? These are things Jews have looked for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. These are things we have longed for. These are things we have searched for, and we have never given up. We have never given up, never given into despair. Despite some unbelievably horrible, difficult, painful, dark days and moments, we have not given up. And for most of my rabbinate, 27 years, again at this point, I would have, with very little hesitation, if someone said, will those things ever come to pass for the Jewish community? Will Israel ever be safe? Will there ever be a time when anti-Semitism is gone? I would have said, yes. Yeah, it's going to happen. I can feel it happening. I can feel the turning. Yes, anti-Semitism is fading away, and yes, Israel can find peace with its Arab neighbors and its Palestinian population, and yes, Jews are finally being treated in the modern world with decency and justice, treated fairly. Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I want to tell you one thing, the last thing this morning. I am not going to give that up. I will not give that up. And neither should any of us. We have to have that. And as tempting as it is, after a year like this, to despair of all of those things, and to say, you know, I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Even as rational as it might seem, to say to ourselves, at this moment, I just don't think we'll ever have it. We'll never have those things that we've looked for so long. As tempting as that might seem, as rational as it might seem, I will not let go of them. If we are faced with despair on the one hand, Yeush, and hope on the other, Tikva, I will choose hope. I hope you will choose it with me. Now listen, I know I said it's the last thing. Here's the last thing. Okay. And I know also it's Rosh Hashanah. Believe me, I know it's Rosh Hashanah. But I want to conclude this morning with an old kushiyah about the lighting of the Hanukkah menorah. Kushiyah, what's a kushiyah? Anybody know? It's like a difficulty, like a problem with the lighting of the Hanukkah menorah. So what's the story of the Hanukkah menorah? We know that story well. In ancient times, the Maccabees retook control of Jerusalem. They rededicated the temple, and they wanted to light the menorah, the sacred ancient menorah. They found you needed special oil, specially formulated oil. They found a cruse of oil that was enough oil to make the menorah burn for one day. They lit it, and it burned for 8 days. You guys are very good at math. So they had enough oil for it to light for one day. They lit it, it burned for 8 days. And we say that's the miracle. And so we light our menorahs for 8 days, commemorating that miracle in ancient times. But did you ever think of this? The first day was not a miracle. Right? The first day, they had enough oil. I mean, that's the story. Everybody knows that. So the first day was not a miracle. So then why do we commemorate 8 days of a miracle? And the answer, I think, is this. The true miracle of Hanukkah is that in the darkest time of Jewish history, when the temple had been destroyed, when ancient Israel had been absolutely, completely, and totally decimated, when there was not one single reason to believe that there would be a Jewish future, at that precise moment, there was one Jew, one, who had enough hope for a Jewish future to set aside that cruse of oil. That's a miracle. Be that Jew this year. Be that Jew this year. You can all do it, however you do it. Let that hope kindle in your heart at the beginning of it's a new year. Carry that hope with you every single day. If you have that hope in your heart, it will make a difference for you in your life, for your family, for your community, for Eretz Yisrael, for the land of Israel, for Jews all around the world. Be that Jew. Bring that hope. Live it in the world. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, our God, God of our ancestors. Let it be a better year. Let it be a year of sweetness, kindness, healing, and hope. Let it be a year of bracha, a year of blessing for us, for our families, for the entire household of Israel. And let it be a year of strength and courage. And please, God, please, let it be a year of peace. Shalom, Shana Tova.